Hey, it's Chris here at Bow River Troutfitters. Today I want to talk about the absolute minimalist essential fly tying materials that you should get in order to still tie a whole bunch of very effective flies. There's so far that you can go down the rabbit hole when it comes to fly tying materials. So we just want to show you the things that we think you should absolutely get first. And honestly, the amount of flies you can tie with it, you might never need to go much farther. Now, I do want to address the topic of fly tying hooks because there's so much information involved there. Honestly, we're going to make a separate video just on the different varieties of fly tying hooks. But for the purposes of our talk today, I'm just going to assume that you're going to get a fairly basic standard setup as far as hooks go. Get some nymph hooks. I usually like size 16 to about size 10. Same for dry flies. Get just good standard dry fly hooks and a nice selection of streamer hooks from there. That's all you really need to get started. So let's get into our first essential material. Okay, so let's start off with threads and wires. We're going to keep it real simple. Get yourself affordable uni thread. It's easy to work with, lots of colors. I don't recommend 8/0 for beginners. It's easy to break off. You'll find it very frustrating. Get 6/0. You can tie a lot of dry flies with it, and it's still strong enough to do for nymphs and streamer work. You might want to get more specialized threads down the line. Keep the color simple. Black, tan, red, maybe get olive or something like that. You can pretty much do any flies with those colors. When it comes to wire, nice and simple. Stick with something like a brassy size. It's very flexible. Copper and red. I could do copper johns. I could do ribs on woolly buggers. It's going to work for a lot of stuff. And then you might want lead wire just to add extra weight, whether it's lead or non-toxic. They both work. Get yourself 0.02 thickness. You can then build it up for thicker flies if you want, like stonefly nymphs, but it's also thin enough that you can use it for small nymphs too. All right, so one of the most versatile materials, you need dubbing, okay? So dubbing is this material that we use to build up bodies for flies. Lots of dry fly patterns are going to be exclusively dubbing for the bodies, and you can also use it to build up things like streamer bodies, nymph bodies. I don't recommend getting a whole bunch, separately. Get one of these variety packs where you get a whole bunch of different colors in one. There are a lot of different kinds of dubbing. Some have more flash, or they're more plastic, or more high floating. Some are going to have more of a buggy material look to them, and they can all be specialized for different kinds of flies. But generally, get yourself something like just a fine dubbing. This will be perfect for dry fly patterns, and you can still use it for a lot of nymphs and streamers as well. All right, one of my favorite materials, Marabou quills. Okay, first off, these are cheap. They're really useful. You can use this to wrap around bodies. You can use it to make streamers. This is going to be the tails and bodies for a lot of your woolly buggers and stuff like that. Again, just get simple colors, black, olive, and white. You can tie so much stuff with this. Absolutely essential. All right, let's talk about Hackle. This is probably going to be your most expensive investment, but you absolutely have to have it. So what I like are these half capes. What's nice about these, you get a variety of different sizes. You got really small stuff for dry flies. You get thicker stuff for nymphs or even streamers. And Hackle you can use for so much stuff. Dry fly wings. You can use it for ribs on streamers like woolly buggers. You can even use it as tails on streamers. Grizzly would absolutely be the first color I would get if I could only get one. I personally then follow up with a ginger, and then you could do a lot with these two different hackles. All right, next material I want to talk about here is actually deer hair. And again, just a bleached natural color is probably the best one to start with. Now, you often hear elk hair being a very popular material, elk hair, caddis, that kind of stuff. But honestly, I tend to tie my caddis flies with deer hair anyways. You can also spin this really nice for some streamer patterns and stuff like that. And it just has a finer stock to it. Both are a good choice though, but if I had my choice, I'd go deer hair first. Now, these are goose biots. This is a really good option, maybe more of a limited material. I mean, you basically just use these for stonefly nymphs, prince nymphs, or you can even tie bodies of very small nymph flies using the actual biots themselves. But they're very affordable. You don't need a ton of colors. And again, like a ginger color and a black, maybe white. These are nice to have. And again, essential for certain nymphs. So these two feathers here might become your favorites when it comes to fly tying because they're so useful. So first off, pheasant tail, absolutely fantastic. You can use the little tips of each of these fibers as like tails on mayflies. And then you can also tie like entire pheasant tail nymph almost entirely with this one feather. I mean, it's a really easy tie and works fantastic. And then peacock herl, something about the color and the flash, it just really attracts trout. This is great for peacock leeches. It's great for prince nymphs and stuff like that. Definitely want to have these. So another material that I consider essential is some sort of flash material. Flashaboo is a good choice. I really like crystal flash as well. This just provides a little bit of sparkle to your flies. You can use it for wing cases. You can use it alongside your nymphs, alongside your streamers. It's really effective stuff. But just get this pearl color. I mean, when you're ready to get other colors, you can, but you can do a lot just with the basic pearl. Another thing you might want to look at is some sort of rubber leg material. I like barred legs like this, small size tan. This is great for putting on stonefly fine nymphs. This is also great for putting on hopper patterns, stuff like that. Really nice, affordable option to have. So when you tie nymph flies, most of the time you're going to want them to have a lot of weight, so they sink right down to the strike zone quick as possible. I would say, although it costs a little bit more, just go for tungsten right off the bat. They just sink even faster. Start with just simple colors like black nickel or here a copper color. You can then branch out into gold and orange and stuff later on, and keep the sizes simple. So starting from something small like 7/64 of an inch all the way up to 5/32 of an inch will give you a good range of sizes to cover a lot of hooks. All right, guys, that does it for our list of materials that we consider essential to beginner fly tyers. The fact of the matter is, though, all the stuff that we've shown you today, you can make so many tried and true patterns that absolutely catch trout. Often the most basic flies, the ones that always work. You know, fly tying is one of those art forms, though. You can go down a rabbit hole and buy tons of materials for many different kinds of patterns. And as you get more into it, you're going to want to experiment more. But hopefully you'll find this list very helpful. You can do so much with the stuff we talked about today. Do leave your comments below, though. Any questions you have about the materials or fly tying in general, we'd love to answer that for you. And hey, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. We'd really appreciate that. You can also check out our playlist to see all of our fly tying videos and get even more information. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you soon with more on Bow River Troutfitters.